What's going on? Facebook Live. Welcome to Northeast Kayak Fishing TV. Tonight we got Top Dawgs with Mr. Mark Donio. He is from North Jersey Kayak Bass Fishing Club. He was their champion for the 2019 season. So we got a bunch of questions for him. You guys know that we've been putting all the last episodes up on YouTube. If you don't know, now you know. So go check those out. Hit the subscribe button. We're trying to hit 100 subscribers so we can get the custom domain name from YouTube and view all those podcasts. You know, you can even play them while you're driving down the road. Just don't look at the video. Just listen to the audio. We have a lot of great conversations on here. And if you guys are in the upstate New York area, make sure you come check me out this weekend at the Messina Fishing Expo at the St. Lawrence Center. I'll be there all weekend, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday in the FX Custom Rods booth. I will also have the Old Town Predator PDL all set up, geared up, ready for fishing. And we can talk about some kayak tournament fishing. So without further ado, we will bring on our guest for tonight. How you doing, Mark?
Pretty good. How are you, Justin?
I'm great, man. Great. I definitely need to get some sleep. I'm leaving at 2 o'clock in the morning to head to upstate New York. It's about a 6.5 hour ride. So not looking forward to the drive and the probably 20 feet of snow they have up there.
Oh, yeah, we've been lucky this year. We haven't had too much down here.
Yeah, we've only got about maybe 2 inches the whole year here in Rhode Island. Which is pretty good. Usually we get hit with a couple of big storms for a few feet, but we haven't got anything. So are you originally from Jersey?
Yes, I grew up in a little town called Millington. It's right near, kind of like near Baskin Ridge and Warren area, like Central Jersey, North Central Jersey.
Awesome. So that's where you grew up. Have you lived there your whole life? You haven't moved out and moved back, or?
Well, I moved to Flemington, so
okay.
I'm close to a lot of the lakes. I'm a little closer to the Susquehanna Flats, the Chesapeake. Yep. I really like fishing there, so only about 2.5 hours from there. So, and I'm like 10 minutes from the Delaware River. So,
awesome. Albert Sklarski, I'm sorry if I pronounce your name wrong, but he said, "What's up, Mark?" Sean, I'm not even going to try to pronounce it. He says, "You're the man." So these guys are tuning in already. You got a fan base.
Yeah, we got our club members.
Yeah. So did you start fishing as a child?
Yeah, I started fishing when I was, I don't know, maybe 3 or 4. My mom got me into it, and my uncle. So I can fish. I fish ever since I can remember.
That's awesome. Now, you do just salt water, fresh water, a little bit of both.
My uncle we used to have a place on off of Barnegat Bay, in a lagoon, a shore house. My uncle used to take me out fishing for fluke, bluefish. Sometimes we go out for tuna. He taught me a lot, about boats and fishing in the ocean. And for Christmas, he used to buy. He knew I was, I used to live right next to the Sag River, growing up. So I would walk all along the banks growing up, and fishing for little largemouth, smallmouth, pickerel, bluegill, anything and catch,
Right. Yeah. When you're a kid, it doesn't matter. As long as something's biting.
Yeah.
So when did you become serious about fishing?
I'd say about in 2009, I decided to join a bass club. It's called the Raritan Valley Bassmasters. It was close to me, and they were part of the New Jersey Bass Federation. So I didn't have a boat, but they had some openings for for co-anglers. So I joined that, and funny thing is, I thought I was pretty good when I joined, and then found out I had a lot to learn. It was some growing pains for the first few tournaments, but um, and it was pretty neat. Um, I think we had my first ever tournament was on the Chesapeake. I caught two shorts the entire day because it was a federation tournament, and so I didn't get to weigh anything in because they were both like 13, 14 inches, and it's 15 inches, until June um, there. And so I think I had another tournament. Second tournament I ever fished was a club tournament on Candlewood, and I think I caught two small keepers there. And then a week later, we had a federation tournament at Candlewood, and I ended up figuring out how to catch some big smallmouth, and I came up with like 12 and a half pounds and came in third. So it was
Awesome.
pretty cool. So right then I was pretty much hooked.
So
Um,
that's when you became serious, and what made you become serious? Just the success in the tournaments, or was it the love for fishing?
the love for fishing. You know, growing up, um, uh, I was really competitive in sports. I played baseball, soccer, a little bit of basketball when I was in middle school, but I used to run cross country and track, and I really started getting into that when I was in high school, and I continued in college. And then I tore my meniscus when I was a senior in college, right after cross country season. So that kind of put an end to my running. But I always loved fishing, and growing up, I always watched the Bass Masters, and I used to have even just for fun in my head, going to the river, pretending I was fishing the Bassmaster Classic and all that stuff. And then tournament fishing opened up, and I'm um, pretty competitive, mostly against the fish. I love to figure out um, the patterns. What do I think could win for that day, or what the pattern for the week is, and I just love I love that puzzle, to try to figure that out. And I also, I always loved fish. So when I was in college, I studied marine science and environmental studies.
I
So
gotta
I
stop
learned.
you. I gotta stop you right there, guys who
Sure.
have watched this show. I think we're finding a trend here. A lot of these great anglers that have come onto this show have studied marine biology and environmental sciences and things like that in college, and they're becoming great successful anglers. It just makes me think that I picked the wrong career choice. I'll let you continue, Mark, and tell us.
Um, yeah, so I really enjoyed it, and I think I learned a lot, and I learned a lot in class and stuff, and I take a lot out to the water and the conditions, and I kind of use it to my advantage.
Right. I mean, I would say that you have a great advantage. I mean, you know what these fish do on a daily basis, and you know what they're put on this planet for. So I would definitely take that as an advantage. Makes me wish that I would have studied fish. I mean, I've had fish tanks and stuff, and I've learned a lot. It sounds silly, but just having fish tanks, I mean, you can see the the relationships with food and things like that these fish have, the way they
Oh yeah.
attack things, uh, and
And
a lot with the garlic scent stuff. It really is um, an advantage with garlic scent. I feel you buy fish food at the store, it's got garlic scent, and you put it in there. And I've compared it. You throw the garlic scented food in there, and throw the food that's not garlic scented in there, and they'll hit the garlic scented food first. So guys who say that scent doesn't have anything to do with fishing, I think you're mistaken. Would
oh
you
yeah,
agree
I
with me?
used to. I agree totally. I use scent on basically everything I use, from the hard square bill crankbaits, top waters, to all the soft plastics.
Really, you use it on hard baits too. I've never used it on hard baits. Soft plastics, yes, but never hard baits.
Yeah, I think it helps them hang on to it a little bit longer. So,
Wow. Paco Frola, Mark, you look great on Northeast Kayak Fishing TV. Chris Mayer, now I know how you won by 122 inches. I'm gonna get into that, Chris. I'm definitely gonna get into that. That's definitely a topic. Albert says he's got a GPS on his kayak. uh, Mark says he's gonna hide a camera in your kayak. That's great. So, what turned you on to kayak fishing? I mean, you did the big boat thing, but what made you switch?
well, um, I bought a kayak, I think in 2008, um, just because I like, fishing the local lakes like Spruce Run and Round Valley, and some local rivers and stuff. So I wanted to, just be a little more mobile. And I didn't really see any kayak clubs, really around that were close. And I guess a couple of years ago, I kind of get, tired of the co-angler thing, and I really like kayak fishing, and I saw that there was a South Jersey club, um, a couple of years back, and then all of a sudden I see this North Jersey club show up on online, and I said, "Wow!" I said, "That's really cool." I said, "I really like to see what that's about and get involved." And So I went to the meetings, and I had my little kayak. I had like a little trophy Ocean, um, 126 from Dick's Sporting Goods.
Yep.
It's a little 10.5 footer, and I used to fish out of that. You sit in all the time, um, and then I was good for about 4 or 5 hours in that thing, and then my legs were getting numb. So I decided, when I joined the club, I said, "Well, they're fish for 8 hours, so I'm gonna have to go and get a bigger kayak, sit on top, and something that I can do a little more with." Is the sit-ins. I could really just throw, some finesse baits and some moving baits, but you can't flip and pitch, when you're at the water level. So decided to get a Wilderness Systems Attack 120. I love it. I could fish the bigger lakes and stuff, and I could still fish all the rivers and stuff. So it's pretty neat. I've enjoyed fishing out of that kayak.
Now, fishing in the boat world and in the kayak world, which would you prefer?
I love the kayak world. Being able to sit down, and I could stand up in the kayak to stretch my legs and stuff, but um, standing all day, for a couple days straight, kind of hurts me a little bit because I tore my meniscus, like I said, when I was a senior in college. So standing, hurts a little more now that I'm over 40. So I enjoy it. I like everything about kayak fishing. I like paddling around, just taking in nature, and I could pay attention to the water. And if I catch a fish, I go up and see what I caught it in and what depth of water it was in. And it's a different experience than fishing in a boat.
Right.
I feel like I land more fish than I do from a boat, for whatever reason. I think maybe it's because the fish get hooked better because they're getting dragged around versus you're fighting standing up. Um, it might have something to do with it, but I just enjoy it. Um, a lot more.
Yeah, I definitely enjoy kayak fishing. I actually sold my boat before I started kayak fishing. I had sold it, but once I got the kayak, I would never even consider buying another boat. Um, I can't say never consider, but because I have considered it, but I always turn back to I want to stick with my kayak. Uh, Tell us about your equipment setup. What are you running for a kayak and gear?
Just the Wilderness Systems Attack 120. I've got just my paddle. I recently got um, the Hummingbird Helix down imaging, so I just had the Helix before that. So I just had a general idea of where the weeds were, but now with down imaging, I um, it's it should be a lot better, I think, this year.
Now, is your wilderness system, is that a pedal kayak or just paddle?
Just paddle.
Just paddle.
Um, yeah, but I just recently got a power pole for it, and that setup also allows for a I can get a motor. So not ready to go to the motor yet, but I think the power pole is going to help me a lot. Especially the early spring
Yeah,
and during the during the summer months when they're really in the weeds and
right.
I can punch. So
Yeah, I've heard a lot of people say that they will get rid of their fish finder before they'd get rid of their power pole. It's definitely a great piece of equipment to have, whether you have a manual one or a power one. I mean, it doesn't matter; they both serve the same purpose. But to have that pole can definitely make things a lot easier to stay in one spot. That's one thing that I'm adding this off season to my Old Town Predator PDL is a power pole, probably a manual system because I can't afford the real deal.
gotcha.
Uh, Last year was your first year on Tourney X, from what I could find, and it looks
Yep.
like you fished 33 tournaments. Stop me if I get anything wrong. Uh, with 26 top tens, 4 third place finishes, 3 second place finishes, and 9 first place finishes. Describe what you think played the biggest part in your success.
Um, I would say probably being versatile. Um, during the whole year, I was able to figure out what the fish were biting on at the time, and then I was able to figure out patterns. And so I think that was the most important thing. And I caught a lot of big fish this year. And that's the awesome thing with Tourney X and fishing some of these monthly tournaments. You can go out and during your practice time, when you catch a big fish, it actually counts for something. So that's what's really neat about it. I felt really fortunate enough to I won um, three of those monthly tournaments, and I was able to. I think I was the points champion for New Jersey, which was amazing. I didn't think that was going to be possible this year. And it was really cool because I got to qualify and go to Wisconsin, which it was on my bucket list to go fish, and that place is just is amazing. Fishing and lacrosse. Also, was really neat about the tournament season. I got to fish a couple places that I had been before, um, but fishing as a co-angler, you never really had too much say in where you went. And it was funny because I knew some of the kind of like the spot on the spots on some of those places, but during those tournaments, I never caught them there. I caught them finding different on different places during my practice, and was able to waypoint them and go there and capitalize early and gave me a lot of confidence to go do other things when that bite died. So that was what was pretty neat about this year.
So you say
And
your versatility led to that success.
yeah, I mean, I caught the first tournament of the year. We were at Pompton Lake. I caught him old school throwing a spinnerbait. And let's see, at Schwartzwood, I caught. It was a very tough, grueling tournament, and I caught my first two good fish of the day. I caught them on a frog. Um, and what was the last one? Oh, and at Furnace, I caught them flipping, and um, and I was throwing a drop shot.
Wow.
So
You went from flipping to throwing a drop shot. Guys, if that doesn't say versatility, I don't know what does.
yeah.
That's
And,
that's a big difference from one end of the spectrum to the other, from flipping to drop shot. I've struggled so much with the drop shot. Everybody says you can go out there with a drop shot, catch a million fish, and I watch people do it, and for whatever reason, the only thing I can catch on a drop shot is a pickerel. I cannot catch a bass on a drop shot. I don't know what I'm doing wrong. It's tough. Describe how the point system works in your club, North Jersey Kayak Bass Fishing. Because every club, they're all different. I mean, everybody runs a different point system. So how does your system work?
our point system is based on the amount of inches you catch. So if you go and catch 77 inches one tournament, that's 77 points. And so you get a cumulative amount of inches throughout the year, and at the end of the year, that's what you have as far as finishing in the point standings.
Now, that includes every tournament?
That's every tournament.
Wow. So if you fished, say, 10 tournaments and somebody else only fished 8 tournaments, you still keep all of your tournaments and he only gets the 8?
Yes. This year we are going to we're allowed to drop 3, and I believe we have 12 tournaments. So you get to keep. You could fish all 12, but you're going to keep your best 9. We did this year to be a little more fair and to keep things a little more interesting for guys that couldn't make certain days. Like for instance, this year out of the 12, I'll only be able to make 9. So all my 9, I better catch them on those. It just happens to be we had last year all of our tournaments were on Sunday, and this year we decided to try a few Saturday tournaments. I happen to work Saturday, so I can't take off to go.
Yeah, that sucks. We do all our tournaments on Sunday for my club. I don't work Saturdays, but I know a lot of guys do, so I try to put it on Sunday. But there's even guys that work on Sunday too. So I mean, you can't please everybody. I like that you guys are gonna drop the at least 3 tournaments or the 3 lowest scores or whatever. That's kind of how we do ours. We don't do a inches total. We do a point system similar to KBF. Like first place gets 100 points and second place gets 90 whatever points and goes down. And then we do bonus points for fish over 18 inches, fish over 19, fish over 20, certain bonus points and stuff like that. Makes it interesting. Our club, actually, the guy who won the most tournaments wasn't actually Angler of the Year. It ended up being another guy who won almost as many tournaments, but he just got those bonus points whenever he needed them and was able to steal it by like 3 points. I think it was super close.
Wow.
Yeah, it was really close. We fish 10 tournaments, and we count 7 of them, so you could drop 3. So it's good to see that you guys realized that from last year to you guys are still a young club too. This was only your second year, I believe, right?
Yes.
Right.
Hmm.
So it's good to see the evolution of it. Guys seeing what works and what doesn't work and making those changes. I only talked to Chris a little bit through messages, but he seems like a great guy. So I know you guys are definitely in good hands over there. What do you think about the Pro Tour Open coming to you guys in Jersey?
Wow. Well, um, we'll see. I'd really like to fish it, um, but I just burned through a week of my vacation being sick with the flu.
Oh,
And I already scheduled the. My plan was to fish all the trail events. So um, yeah, but I really like to fish that one. But we'll see what happens. We'll see what I can do. It's also on a Saturday. I only get so many vacation days a year.
right. Yeah, I let my employers know right up front. This is like I fish and I fish competitively and that's my life. So if my employer can't work with that, I'll find another employer. I just can't. I have to do it. It's one thing that I have to do. Um, for me, if I didn't have fishing and my family, I really wouldn't need the job. So I mean, why? I'm one of those people that work is not the most important part of life. I feel you need to live, and I feel your employer should um, honor that and realize that their employees need to live. Uh, and I think you get more out of your employee when you treat them that way. Let them have as much time off as they need. I mean, obviously they can't take a half a year off, but
Right.
I think if a guy needs to take a Friday and a Saturday to travel to a tournament once a month, I don't see nothing wrong with that. Especially if he's a good employee. You seem like a good guy. I can't see that you're sitting around doing nothing all day.
Nope. No, I work hard all day. I have 12-hour shifts, so once I get in, it's from start to finish until I walk out the door. So
If you don't mind me asking, what do you do for a living?
I work in like manufacturing for a pharmaceutical company.
That's tough. Yeah, I know people that work in manufacturing, and that is actually tough to get time off. Because if you're not there, things aren't getting built. um,
Yeah, somebody's always got to pick up the slack.
right,
You know.
right. I'm sure they got like mandatory overtime and all that crap too.
Oh yeah, we have that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I actually last month I went for a job interview at a place that did uh food service, like packaging food and stuff. But I'm a mechanic, so I went there to work on the machines and stuff. They had an opening, and through the interview, I realized, yeah, manufacturing is not the environment I want to be involved in. Uh, they're like, sometimes you'll be here 24 hours if a machine goes down. Yeah, no, that's not me. So you got the most combined inches for a season. That's a record you hold uh, in your club with 574.25 inches. That's a lot of inches. And that was you're only been in the club one season, and you already hold the single season record. What's that mean to you?
Um, it's it means a lot. It means I had a really good year, and I hope to catch them just as well this year or better. There was a lot of things that I felt places that I could have fished better at. I mean, anybody that's ever been fishing and you've practiced and you said, "Wow, I'm really going to catch them at this tournament," and then you go and you catch one with 10 minutes to go. Um, you walk out of there a little frustrated. You're like, "Well, maybe I zigged when I should have zagged," and that was probably my worst tournament was on Tilcon. So we're going there again this year, and I look to try to get revenge there on the fish.
Now you won the season by 122 inches. 122 inches between you and second place. That's a huge gap there. What do you think separated you from the rest of the field? I mean, other than size of the fish, obviously you were catching bigger fish, but what do you think gave you that advantage to separate you like that?
Um, Throughout the entire season, I never zeroed. Um, just even the one tournament on Telcon, I was able to catch a keeper, or when I really was struggling, at a tournament where we were fishing Mountain Lake, and I had destroyed them during practice for, I guess I had been there like 5 or 6 times, and I had had 20, 30 fish days. I told everybody that it was going to be awesome. And then I went there, and within the first half hour, I lost a keeper. It jumped off the board and into the water. And I said, well, that fish isn't going to matter. I caught a lot of fish during my times here, and then I didn't catch one till like 11:30. So, and then I was able to just grind out another one, catch another one with like less than an hour to go. So it was. I feel like trying to be. I was just a little more consistent this year. Um, and I think that paid off in the end. The important thing was not zeroing when you're down and you're trying to figure things out.
Yeah, skunking is the worst. It can beat you down in mentally if you don't catch a fish. I mean, I've done it. We've all done it. Um, but yeah, that can really beat you down. So, did you catch a limit in every tournament, or?
I the first I believe the first couple I had limits, but New Jersey waters can be really tough at times, and you'll have certain windows where you can catch them. You'll catch uh, 2 or 3, and then the bite will completely shut off. Based on pressure.
Yeah, I'm gonna assume that they're highly pressured waters in Jersey. Same here in Rhode Island. We have very small bodies of water and millions of people. So the pressure definitely affects the way that it fishes. Do you see yourself more of a finesse guy or more of a power fisherman because of that factor of the pressure where you live?
It depends on the body of water and the time of year, as to how I will decide to attack the lake, and conditions. I mean, of course, if it gets a little windy, I'll pull out the jerk bait or the spinner bait and crankbait, and I'll see see if they'll bite it, and if not, I'll go through. I have a progression that I'll go through to see what throughout the day to see what I feel confident that they'll bite. So I mean, of course, everybody's got I was throwing the Ned rig before they even had called it the Ned rig. I've been throwing that since 2004.
Right, back when it was
So,
the Midwest finesse rig or something they called it back then.
yeah, well, I got them. I used to get them from Gopher Tackle in Minnesota. You know, the mushroom head jigs.
Right.
Heads, and and then all of a sudden, a couple of years ago, they started making the other. Berkeley came out with theirs, and this one came out with theirs, and Z-Man and all that stuff. And I was like, I guess the secret's out.
Yeah,
so,
it's a good way to catch fish quick.
Oh yeah. So,
what's your favorite lake on the trail?
Let's see. I really like Swartzwood. Or the trail, or just our club.
Your club. Sorry.
Okay. I like Schwartzwood. It's got a lot of. I feel like you can do a lot of different things there. You can throw your top water, you can fish rocks, and you can fish weeds. And yeah, so I like that lake, and it's pretty big too. That one in Wayanda, I like.
There are a lot of depth changes, or is it more of like a shallow, flat pond?
There's some depth changes.
Yeah. Yeah. Around here, we don't have much of a depth change. Most of our waters are steep banks down to about 6 feet, and straight across 6 feet, and another steep bank. That's pretty much what we got here to fish with. A few natural bodies of water that have some depth changes to them, but most of our stuff's a man-made reservoir about 6 feet deep. What's your most disliked and why?
Um, I don't think I really have one that I dislike. They're just a little bit different. We have some lakes that um, have some good weeds, some that have uh, almost like sunken islands in the middle of them. Um, Other ones that have standing timber, like we've got Monksville and Merrill Creek. Merrill Creek's interesting because it's super clear, and the trees go down like 30 to 60 feet. So
Wow.
to try to pull out a few fish out of the trees is difficult when you get them out of there. So, but I don't really dislike any of them. There's some like I like a little more than others, but um, the ones that are more challenging are I just look forward to the challenge of figuring them out if I didn't do well. So,
Right. Yeah, I like the challenge of it too. I got a few lakes that I can't wait to get back to try and redeem myself a little bit. I know we talked about the work thing a little bit, uh, but do you have plans to head out on the KBF trail in 2020?
yes, I plan on trying to fish all of them. I'm really looking forward. The two I'm really looking forward to is the Lake George tournament and the Susquehanna. I'm really looking forward to those two.
I cannot wait for the Susquehanna. That is my favorite. I've only been there twice in my life, and
Mm-hmm.
it's my favorite place to fish. Every time I go there, I catch tons of fish all day long. Um, I haven't done well in a tournament. I mean, I think I got 15th or something the last time, um,
Mm-hmm.
but I caught fish all day long. I just couldn't find the right size fish.
Right. I used to go fishing there. I think one of my buddies used to like going there, but we'd go there in August when the water was low, and go wade fishing there. You know, so that was always interesting. And we had a day where I think we were catching on top water. I caught 45, and I thought it was pretty good. 45 fish anywhere from 12 inches to 17. But my buddy caught 91.
Wow.
It was it was ridiculous. Our arms were sore at the end of the day, and nothing big, but I mean it was a lot of fun. And I've been there twice since then, and I know the river had a lot of problems. Had a couple of years where it really they struggled with the recruitment for the juveniles, and so there was only big fish, and you see tons of bait around, but you wouldn't see those juveniles those little 6 to 12 inch fish around.
Right.
You would just see the that were like 18 to 20. So, but it's nice to see that some of the videos and the fishing shows and that that was making a good comeback. So they're starting to see those 2 pounders and stuff now. So
Yeah, I went there 2 years ago. Um, and the river was really high. It was KBF event, and I could only fish like 100-yard stretch on a current break, and there was probably 10 other guys fishing in that same area. A lot of them went up the creek, but I stayed
Mhm.
right on that current break the whole day, and I bet I caught 30 fish. They just happened to all be between like 12 and 15 inches. Um, I lost one good one, had it break me off. Uh, Ken Wood was next to me right when it happened. I kind of had to talk me through a mental breakdown because after she jumped out of the water like 4 or 5 times, and now you saw the fish and you know it's a giant smallmouth, it hurt when she broke me off. Uh, had to have been, it was all of 20 inches.
Wow.
That was a tough one, man. That was real tough. Um, how about the national championship? I'm assuming you qualified.
Yeah, I qualified. Booked the room, and so I'm looking forward to going there. That's another one on my Gunnersville's on my bucket list, and um, I really look forward to fishing that. Um, so
Yeah, I'll be down there also. I cannot wait to get down there. Just like you said, bucket list place to fish. Uh, I'm hoping the cold weather holds out for quite a bit, right up until just before we get there, so we can see some big slobs on some beds. That would be fantastic.
yeah, the Bassmaster Classic is there. What, 3 or 4 weeks before we get
Yeah,
there?
yeah, right about just about a month before we get there.
Yeah, so it should be interesting to see
What the
what areas play.
Right.
You know.
Everybody's going to be glued to their live streams watching the Bassmaster Classic. Not even to watch what fish were caught, just to watch for the background images of where they're catching them. I know that's what I'll be doing.
Oh yeah, I've watched it. I've watched a few already.
Yeah,
Um,
myself included, man. I've watched the FLWs, the Bassmasters. I've watched so many. I almost have too many places that I want to try out to fish. I got to narrow it down. You a guy that goes really in depth into your planning before a tournament, or do you one of those guys that just shows up and goes with your gut feeling and fishes how you fish?
oh, I've got some preconceived notions. I went out and bought a whole bunch of stuff just for that tournament. uh, we'll see how that goes. Uh, Usually, what happens is I'll buy that stuff, and then it'll never leave the box. So depending on how practice goes. So
Yeah,
we'll
I
see how practice goes and where the fish go, and uh, also, it's usually those tournaments. It's all about being able to find your own little piece of water that you could fish and you can try to figure out. You know, especially with I don't know. The last time I checked, there was over 600 people entered in
Yeah, it was six
the
hundred and
event.
thirty even the last time I checked. It was 630 even.
Yep.
It is what it is. It's a big body of water, so I think it can hold us. But I don't know how many other tournaments are going to be there on the same day. There's tournaments on that place almost daily. Sometimes multiple tournaments every day. It, it it gets a lot of pressure. It's amazing that those fish even still bite.
Yeah. Yeah. They're amazing. Yeah. I just worry about boat traffic. I don't know how it would be there, but I know how Lake Apacon gets. So that's why I'm glad that Open is in May 2nd. Before a lot of the pleasure boaters and water skiers get out there, because they tear it up. And you get some big waves when it goes back and forth on those walls.
Uh,
So
John Voight, I'm gonna say his last name is. He says he plans for a tournament like Rocky Dennis planned for his cross country trip. Uh, Greg Mulgrew, he studies for 6 months ahead. I'm one of those guys also, Greg. I've been studying Gunnersville for a long time. The maps are. I got pictures taped all over my walls behind my screens over here. You guys can't see all that kind of stuff, but yeah, I study. Yeah, I still suck when I get there, but I study. Uh, so what's some of your 2020 goals?
uh probably to try to do well at I like to try to make the cut at Gunnersville. Like to do well this year with our tournament season, for the club, and I like to try to see try to at least make one top 10, in the trail. I know there's a lot more people than just the 20 or 30 guys that show up at our tournaments, so for our club. So it'll be interesting to see, 80 to 100, and to see how I can do. So all you can do is try to figure out the fish, and and try to catch a couple of big ones, during
Right.
the tournament, and see where the chips lie. So
Yeah, you're not competing against the guys, man. You're competing against the fish. A lot of people don't understand that. You got to just figure them out. If you can figure them out, the other guys fishing don't matter. Rich says, just got to go out and have fun. You're going to do great. You have a lot of people that look up to you. So you got a good fan base going. You guys got any more questions, just throw them in there. This is a question that I ask everybody that comes on the show. Your top 5 anglers of all time. They can be professional, personal. It's all up to you.
okay. Let's see. With well, KVD, obviously. Um, uh, Skeet Reese. Uh, I fished with Randy Howell during a day 3 of a Bassmaster Open, so I go with him. I fished with him before he won the Classic. Um, um, let's see. Uh, Probably one of this one guy, Scott, that I fished with in my bass fishing club. In the I learned a lot from him, but he was always winning Angler of the Years. I don't know how many in a row. It was ridiculous, like 7 or 8. Um, and then I'll go with my Uncle Bob on the Fish for Fluke.
Awesome, awesome. It's always great to hear guys who have a family member or something that they consider one of their top 5 anglers. Um, I have an uncle, my uncle John. He got me into bass fishing really heavily. I mean, I always fished my whole life, but once I moved to Rhode Island to live with my mom after my parents separated, I got to spend a lot of time with my uncle John, and he is a bass fishing fanatic. And I don't understand why he doesn't fish tournaments, but he taught me a lot about fish. He's a guy that likes to learn the fish, like how you say, how you study them and learn what they're doing and when they're doing it, why they're doing it. He's kind of like that. So he's one of my top 5s. I love to hear guys that have family members as a top 5.
Yeah. Oh yeah. He passed away a year ago. So basically, I dedicated last year to him. Because he passed away from cancer. Um,
that sucks, man.
so
That really sucks.
yeah. he was a Vietnam veteran. You know, he was an airborne ranger, and you know, it was one of my favorite people and favorite people to fish with.
Uh, Sean Sean says, "What's a bit of advice you would give to aspiring kayak anglers?"
I would say to learn how to be versatile, but when things get tough, to fish your strengths.
Great advice. Sean says, "To catch a fish, you have to become the fish." I'm just scrolling through looking for a few questions. John says, "Where did you catch all those 20-inch plus smallies in September?"
He should. I sent him pictures.
Johnny says he sent you pictures. Oh, that's great. That is great. Sean says Mark's secret to winning is to catch 5, then find me with just enough time to land the tournament winner right in front of me.
That's true. I did that at Curtis Lake. I caught one with 30 minutes to go right next to him, but I was going to ask him how he was doing right before then. Then I caught it. So
that's great. That's great. All right, Mark, I'm going to let you thank everybody that you need to thank. I want to thank you for coming on the show. It was my pleasure. But go ahead and thank anybody, family members, sponsors, or whoever else you want to thank, and we'll get you off of here, and I'm sure we'll see you again.
I'd just like to thank everybody at the North Jersey Kayak Bass Fishing Club. Thanks for supporting me on this. And I look forward to fishing with all of you. I'm also like to thank my parents, John and Sue Donio, my brother, Dave and his wife, Melinda, and my new nephew, Matthew. He's a couple weeks old.
Awesome. Congratulations.
Thank
you. All right. Is that all you got to thank?
Yep, that's it.
All right, Mark. Thanks for coming on the show. And I'll see you out on the water.
All right. Thank you very much. Have a good one.
You too. All right, guys. Mr. Mark Donio from North Jersey Kayak Bass Fishing Club. He's the club champion. Seems like a great guy, as everybody we interview on here. I mean, kayak anglers seem to be some of the greatest people in the world. We can talk forever. Unfortunately, I have to get to bed. I have to head to Messina, New York at 2 o'clock in the morning for the Messina Fishing Expo. So if you're up in that area or not afraid to take a drive, head on up there. You can see me in the FX Custom Rods booth. I'll have my kayak all set up, fully rigged, ready to go. Probably going to have some of the podcast episodes playing, so people can check that out while they're there. Next week on the 18th, which is a Tuesday, I believe. But anyways, next Tuesday, we'll have Eric Goldstein. He's coming on to talk about tournament fishing in a sit-in kayak. I know it's not a very popular setup for this tournament fishing, but some guys seem to do it, and they have great success doing it. So we're going to pick his brain and see how it's done, how they're measuring these fish in a sit-in, how they're storing their tackle, things like that. And then we'll see you all on Tuesday. So thanks for watching. Tight lines, good times. See you next time.